Hi, everyone. We're starting now our Big Time and Polkastarter AMA. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Daniel, from Big Time team to be joining tonight our little Twitter space session. We're just waiting for our host from Polkastarter Gaming Guild to join, but I think you can start by saying hi to our listeners.
Great. Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, excited to talk about Big Time.
Yeah, we're very excited about this partnership. So we want to share a little bit more about it and what is going to happen next. Okay, so our community manager from Gaming Guild is having some technical issues, so I think we can start already, and maybe you can join in the middle of the session. So maybe I'll start by asking the first question. Tell us a little bit about Big Time. What is the game about?
Okay, sure. I can take that one. So Big Time is an action RPG, which is a genre of games that you're probably familiar with. There's games like Diablo and Path of Exile and lots of other similar games out there that are all kind of falling into this category. But Big Time is doing things slightly differently than those sort of Diablo clones or Diablo-esque games where we have a different camera angle and different game mechanics that are a little bit more close to the fighting. So we like to say that the Big Time is 80% Diablo and 20% something like World of Warcraft. But it's really what Big Time is a gaming experience that we are building to be fun and engaging for everyone, not just blockchain enthusiasts, but that definitely includes blockchain enthusiasts. So we want to make an experience that anyone that's enjoyed your Diablo games or your Path of Exile games or World of Warcraft or something like that can pick up Big Time and jump in and play with their friends and challenge themselves and have fun picking up loot and exploring the world and improving their character, improving their gear, and also interacting with the blockchain or with the NFT side of things in interesting ways that kind of feed a nice cycle between the blockchain enthusiasts and the pure gaming players. So we're building an experience which is friction-free, so gamers can jump in and play Big Time and even have NFTs without having to have a wallet, without having to know anything about the blockchain actually. So all you need to do is create an account with Big Time, and then we are actually able to assign NFTs to those players and kind of give them a carrot to get interested in the blockchain world. So you can imagine the player that just is playing Big Time because it's a fun to play, free to play game. He wants to pick it up and try it out. Doesn't really know or necessarily care anything about the blockchain, but suddenly he's in a dungeon, he kills a boss, the boss drops this really interesting looking NFT and he picks it up and he goes like, oh, what's this thing? What's this do? Starts asking questions about it. And of course, we'll rapidly figure out like, oh, this thing's worth real money. Okay, now I'm really interested in the blockchain all of a sudden. So we're kind of bringing gamers to the blockchain instead of trying to bring the blockchain to gamers. But really, Big Time is meant to be an experience that gamers can go in and fight in dungeons, explore the world, pick up loot, improve their characters, and then come back out into the social areas and interact with other players, interact with their personal pocket universe, and kind of customize their personal space with their whatever space NFTs they own, and kind of play the economy and have an interesting experience on both sides of the coin. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Daniel?
No, I think you hit all the major points. I think the main goal of us at Big Time is to create a game experience that players don't realize they're actually interacting with the blockchain, and they're just playing the game because it's fun. Everything else that comes afterwards is kind of like the cherry on top.
Okay, that's awesome. So sorry for being late, had some technical issues. But yeah, so the second question is, so who is working on the game? Who's in on the team?
So we've got a kind of an all-star cast of game developers that are working on Big Time that come from all over the game industry. But I think the common theme really is we've invested pretty heavily in order to bring in game industry veterans, people that have shipped several titles in the past, all to further that goal of first and foremost building a fun and engaging game. So we've got people. My background is I originally worked at Electronic Arts on the Medal of Honor franchise. Later, I went to Epic and worked on the Gears of War franchise, and worked on the team that became the Fortnite team. Worked on Fortnite, and then have since left and joined the startup world and have done a bunch of other projects since. But we've got people from that worked on Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, probably other ones that I'm forgetting. Anyway, yeah, lots of experience to pull from on the team, and we're trying to bring that experience to bear as much as possible so that we can make sure that we create an interesting game for folks.
Yeah, what I add to that too is even though most of us come from like the AAA gaming space, I myself came from Activision and Blizzard before that. 𝗵cie, our CEO, was the founder of Decentraland, and he's one of the OGs in this world of blockchain gaming, and he brought a lot of expertise from what he learned at Decentraland. And we have a few other folks on the team that are very knowledgeable when it comes to crypto. So they've had a lot of input as well on how we design the blockchain experience on our game.
All right. So you mentioned Decentraland, right? But will Big Time have land, or it will have just heroes?
Yeah, I can take that one. So we do have what's equivalent to land. We call it space. Big Time is set in a time-traveling universe, and you are essentially a time-traveling warrior trying to fix things. Part of this is every player, now this is a free-to-play game. Anyone can come in and start enjoying that core loop that Matt was talking about. But every player at a point in their leveling will earn what their own personal time machine or pocket universe, essentially. And what this is you can teleport to it, and when you're there, it's your house. It's your time machine, like a TARDIS, and everyone gets a starter kit. What you can do afterwards is expand the size of it using NFTs that are called space. And space functions very similar to land. I think the major difference is we're not talking about a two-dimensional grid where you can kind of just build outwards. We're talking about three-dimensional space. And the idea here is you want to expand and have, over the years accumulate 1,000 spaces. You're in your own universe, and you can do that. Now, what you can do with all this space varies a lot. A number of different features that we can go into during this AMA. But there's also the part of showing who you are. You can customize it and decorate your space too. And I think what the cool thing is there's different rarities, different sizes. And the way we're planning this game, since it is a time-traveling game, is we want to make sure we're hitting on all the different themes of the game content that we end up launching throughout the game's life cycle.
That's really, really cool. But do you have the lore for the game? So let's say if you're time traveling, is there a history behind it or some kind of a story?
Want to touch on that one, Matt?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we definitely do have a lore, we have a whole storyline and an arc built out. Not a lot of that has been announced just yet, but definitely the battle throughout time, if you will, because like Daniel mentioned, the game's all about kind of time travel and alternate universes and keeping things on the right track as far as the original history timeline. So there's a lot of events that take place throughout the timeline in the game's lore, and all that stuff has been planned out. We're going to probably be rolling more and more of that out, but a lot of the story we are building into the game in such a way that it has to be discovered by the players. We don't want to spoil too much or give it all away. A lot of the fun of that stuff is being able to go in and experience it and kind of uncover the mysteries yourself as a player when you're just by playing the game.
Yeah, I think it's actually one of the best approaches, that the players actually discover things themselves instead of reading about them online. But yeah, obviously since it's crypto and there's some kind of game economy, right? There should be a token, right? Or should there be a token even? Do you have a token? Do you have plans for a token?
We do have a token. It's a utility token. And the goal with this token actually is we're going completely fair launch. So none of us have tokens, no investors hold tokens, and the tokens can only be earned in-game. They can't be purchased from Big Time. And the idea behind this token is you can unlock a lot of unique experiences in the game, unique things you can do, abilities, not so much from a character power standpoint. We did draw a line between, pay to win. We don't want people coming in, dropping like $5,000 and reaching the top of the leaderboards. So you can't pay for strength. But you do have an opportunity to buy NFTs and to access unique NFTs through the use of tokens, amongst many ways of finding NFTs in the game.
Interesting. Yeah, and so if there are items and if they're like different heroes, are there also guilds, a thing that is common for other P2E games? So will guilds fit into Big Time?
Yeah, actually, we're doing something interesting where we are grabbing the features of guilds that you find in games like World of Warcraft, right? So it's a lot about the game experience, as well as this new industry of P2E guilds and how their operations work. So we are looking to incorporate a lot of things that guilds need to do outside of the system of a game. For example, how do you distribute tokens that are earned? Do your players need wallets or not? How do you lend out, any NFTs to your guild members? A lot of these functionalities we're looking to include within the game itself, because the idea here is really to make it the most seamless experience between just normal gaming and interacting with the blockchain.
Yeah, I think it is really important because some of the games in the market seem like they will have appeal only to people that are already in crypto. But I guess the goal is to just attach crypto to a game that is good by itself. So the question is, how will Big Time attract gamers that are not already crypto investors? Will it have the ability to get people that are not interested in crypto?
Yeah, that's definitely that's kind of where we're coming from in terms of the team that we brought together and all our goals for the game itself, which are kind of full, the game needs to be fun and engaging, period. Notice I didn't say anything about blockchain there. It's just, that's the most important goal that the team is working on right now, is making a compelling experience that any gamer would enjoy. And we're investing heavily in that. We're focused on that. And that's really what we've been trying to achieve going forward, and what we're going to be striving toward, or working on until we have achieved. So you might see early access launches, and we're doing closed beta testing and all that sort of stuff, which is helping us toward that goal of making sure that the game is actually fun, even if you're not incentivized to play via the blockchain. So we have fresh gamers that come in and they play the game and they give us feedback and we iterate, and all the normal sort of game development cycling is what we're working on. That's our highest priority for the game team, is just to make it fun, make it cool, make it engaging, which really means make it fun to play over a longer period of time. You don't just get in and play it for a second and then bounce. You want to come back. There's stuff to do that keeps you interested, and that's really our number one priority right now.
Yeah, just to add on top of that, I think definitely hitting what Matt's saying, like the game needs to stand on its own two legs without having to rely on any blockchain mechanics or gimmicks. And then we add essentially blockchain elements where we feel it will add the most value to the game. What I think is also really cool about all this is that Big Time is essentially three pillars. One is the game. Another one is the tech behind it, what we're calling the vault. which would allow anyone coming in, creating their game account and start playing to actually engage with the blockchain without having to worry about a wallet, how I need a MetaMask and I need my phrase and I need to worry about gas fees or anything like that. They don't need to. What you can imagine is a normal traditional gamer comes in, starts playing, it clears an instance with a hard boss, and all of a sudden an NFT dropped. They'll take the NFT like any item, as if you're playing Diablo, for example, and they'll realize that they can actually just chuck this into our marketplace and sell it. And we'll be taking care of all of that for them. How the system works essentially is a lot of things are kind of pre-minted off-chain, and we'll be managing that. But the moment that anyone wants to take NFT off-chain, they can do so really seamlessly. So that's essentially the experience we want to give to players.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Speaking of crypto and blockchains, did you guys choose a native blockchain, the one that you'll be building on?
So like Daniel was just saying, the sort of the first step in our flow for any crypto assets is our vault technology, which is, it's off chain until somebody decides to withdraw and put it on chain. So in that sense, we're chain agnostic, and really, since Vault is kind of our central hub for where all these transactions are taking place, we really do want to be chain agnostic, which really to us means we're going to be adding support for lots of different chains. So when you take something out of the Vault, you'll be able to put it in whatever chain you prefer. Right now, we've got the Vault is interacting with the Ethereum mainnet. That's kind of what we're launching with. But definitely expect to see more support for different chains added in the future. There's no technical limitation there to what chains we can support, and the point is to be as open as possible. So that's what we'll be doing.
Yeah, makes sense. Another question. So metaverse is obviously a huge topic nowadays. There are a lot of metaverse projects, Facebook getting there and all of this. Do you have kind of like a dream of your big time's future role in the metaverse? How do you see all this current metaverse trend, and how do you fit in?
Well, I can take a crack at this, and then maybe Daniel can add to it if I forget something. But I think metaverse is sort of a very overloaded term. It means lots of different things to lots of different people. But definitely Big Time has aspirations in that direction. I think really the goal of Big Time is to make the Vault a platform. And a platform means multiple use cases, multiple users, multiple games. And that's how we're building the Vault, is to support lots of different users. In fact, we even have we raised some money for an ecosystem fund in order to kind of bring partners on board early on in the process and help make the Vault actually a platform, which means a multi-game system. And that means both that our partners on the Vault would be able to use the technology that we've built to make their lives easier as they're producing their game, but also it opens the doors to really interesting partnerships between the games that are on the Vault to do things like have NFT interoperability, do incentivized deals between partners on the Vault that are interesting for all parties. So you can, I can make an NFT in my game that works across multiple games, and it adds value to everybody in the ecosystem, because users know if they buy this NFT for Big Time, it's also going to be applicable to these other games in interesting ways. And so it's worth a little bit more to people because there's more utility there. And that, I think that's the key to that working, is really the Vault partnership ecosystem. I mean, obviously, when assets are on the blockchain, technically anyone could we could make the decision that we're going to allow 𝗍𝗄𝘁 NFTs to mean something in our game, and since it's since they're on the blockchain and the blockchain is open, we could do that. Nobody can stop us. But there's this incentive wall there where there has to be a reason for people to put effort into that. Like, why would I spend time making assets and building functionality in my game for your NFT? There's not really a lot of reason to do that in most cases. And so the fact that we have this Vault's kind of partnership opportunity to make those incentives and put them in place so that there is a reason for me to add support for your NFT in my game and vice versa, and it kind of helps everybody. I think that's really interesting, and really that's the goal going forward. But right now our focus is Big Time, getting Big Time launched, getting users in the game, and that's twofold. First, it's a lot easier to, you can't have a platform without users, so we need to bring the users in. But also the platform itself is not nearly as useful to other partners until something is actually shipped on it. So this is commonly referred to as dog fooding, which means we're building the game using our own platform. And so we find all the issues and we fix them because we're shipping, we have to, like, in order to get Big Time shipped and out the door, we're going to stumble across all the issues that anyone else would have when they're trying to ship and put something on the vault. And so we'll get those fixed first, and that will put Vault in a much better situation for other future partners down the line, because they can look at Big Time and say, oh, Big Time shipped and they are able to operate successfully, and so that gives people a lot more confidence in the Vault as a platform, and also just it truly makes it a better platform. So that's kind of the order of operations there.
Yeah, I add on top of that regarding the question, the metaverse aspect of it is, I personally think most metaverse projects everyone sees now will fail, just because there's a lot of people looking around at, say, Roblox, Minecraft, and even how Riot is taking their League of Legends IP and expanding to other mediums. And they're saying, okay, let's copy what they have now. But the truth is, it took Roblox more than a decade to start gaining traction based just off experience that users create for other users. League of Legends 2 only started hitting out into like a wider universe of their IP very recently. So for me, when I see a metaverse, the first thing you need are actually people in that metaverse, the population of that metaverse. So if people don't have a reason to be there, in my opinion, people need to go there for fun that's laid out, and that's what we're building on our side, a fun experience that you can share with others. And once people are there for that reason, over time, with the connections they make and the time and effort they invest into that universe of the game, just being in the game becomes the reason to be there. And I think that's when you hit that tipping point where you can start transforming yourself into a more metaverse type platform. What I think is cool with working with blockchain is we're actually able to decentralize a lot of elements of a metaverse, such as the economy, right? Such as zones for players to explore. So even though our core game experience is still going to be absolutely critical to get players in, playing and making connections with other players, this parallel track that players can take with their space and their time machines and building it out. And as people become more comfortable playing a blockchain game, it opens up the door for us to introduce more and more features for you that use the blockchain. I think that's where you start getting metaverses that have long lifespans, as opposed to an empty space where the creator of the metaverse says, okay, everyone, go populate this area and find something to do. I don't think those will last very long.
All right. Okay, so back from the metaverse to you guys. What's the release timeline? When can we expect to see more things from you?
I can take that one, I guess. So the very first public release for Big Time will be in early 2022. And that will be available to the folks that have purchased our VIP passes earlier in the year. And actually we'll be doing another sale of passes sometime this month. And so we'll be rolling out the game, or at least the early access launch of the game, to greater and greater audiences as time goes on. So we'll start with the gold passes and then move on to the silver and move on to jade and so on. And then throughout the year in 2022, we'll continue that trend where eventually, after we've gone through all the pass holders, we will then open it up to the public and continue rolling out updates as time goes on. So if anyone's not familiar with the early access process for games, there's kind of two I don't know, modes that games end up using, like Steam is a platform that has an early access system, and you often see games get released on early access that never get finished, and that's just sort of like a way that people will release and then not finish a game, which is definitely not what we're going to be doing. The other side of that coin for early access games on Steam is when projects do it right. They release the game on early access and they engage the community really heavily and get lots of feedback, and the community actually helps steer the production into a place that's more fun for everybody. And that's definitely the approach we're taking here. We're releasing the game in earlier than we otherwise would, because we know that all of this stuff is so new and cutting edge that it's very important to get real users in the system interacting with the game, so that we can see how things work, see how the economy is working, see where the game isn't fun, and really grow it organically with the community. And that is what we'll be doing. So as we release it to these bigger and bigger groups, we'll have made more and more changes to kind of improve the experience of the game more with time. And that process will continue probably for a good part of 2022 until we get to a point that we're happy with calling it a 1.0 release. But even then, once we kind of leave early access, we're really taking a games as a service approach, where we want to continue releasing content for indefinitely, where we have this beautiful freedom built into the narrative of the game, where, since it is talking about alternate universes and time travel, we can get really creative with what we release. So sometimes the players are going to be in medieval kind of your typical swords and axes time frame, but later on we'll release content that jumps into the far future, where you're no longer using swords and axes, you're using laser rifles and walking around in mechs, or we can mix and match those things too as much as we want, and really get to play around with game mechanics and story in a way that will keep it interesting for the gamers, but also for the developers. A lot of us have come from long-winded franchises. I'll use Gears of War as an example, since that's the one I worked on. And Gears of War is still around. I worked on it for several years and went through several versions of that title, and now they're continuing to work on it. But after a dev team has worked within the confines of a particular intellectual property for too long, it starts to get kind of confining. You can't do all the cool ideas you have don't necessarily fit into that universe, because that's not something Marcus Phoenix would do, or that's not something that would happen in his universe. And we have intentionally kind of built our narrative in a way that lets us be fresh and free with what we put in the game. And so that's really the idea. Is we'll be doing sort of like seasonal updates and keeping new content going into the game, new game mechanics and that sort of thing for some time.
Awesome. That's really, really good to hear. And I guess a question that is very important for our Polkastarter gaming community: what will be like the possible collaborations between our community and your game? So what can it be, like game streams, or like will there be a possibility for scholarships, or like just in short, what are the possible collaborations between Big Time and our community? What can we do together?
Well, we have a lot of plans around guilds that that's probably the first version of that kind of collaboration that you'll see. And I'll let Daniel speak to that a little bit more. But in addition to the guild functionality and guild interaction we have planned, there's we want to build in lots of collaboration in terms of like feedback and community-driven steering of the game. That's kind of like it's really important to getting the early access process to be successful. And so I'm not sure if that's really what you mean, but we'll definitely have like lots of lines of communication open via Discord and forums and other media to make sure that we're listening to the community and steering the game in a way that resonates with people. But yeah, maybe Daniel, if you want to take the guild question a little bit head on.
Yeah, sure. In terms of like guild members and scholars and just the community itself, definitely feedback regarding the game experience would be massive, as well as features that guilds would like just to make their life easier. So we did have our, our private space sale with a number of different guilds, and we got a lot of really good feedback on things that would just make their life easier, would kind of be like a godsend for them, because they spend a lot of time either building tech out or bringing people on just to be able to manage, the sheer number of members of their guild. So definitely that type of information is really useful for us. I know we haven't touched it on just yet, but one thing that might differentiate, let's say, a guild like Polkastarter versus like a small player-driven traditional gamer guild is this idea of scaling your time machine and space. And what we want to do is position space as the basis for you to design how you want to use your time machine, right? How do you want to run your production? What do you want to focus on? Different than that first generation of blockchain games where it's a very linear experience, essentially like, oh, get your axes and go fight, and then I breed axes, and that's kind of where you're limited at. This is more a situation where a guild can choose to get really good players who are very good at clearing instances and grinding at hard levels, bring them on board, give them the special NFT, the Hourglass, which unlocks the ability to find token loot, and that's what they're going to focus on. Another guild might want to actually focus on the production of Hourglasses so they can fulfill requests from other guilds and other players on the marketplace. Another guild might want to focus on the enhancement and the production of cosmetic NFTs using their space. So the idea really is that space will form the basis over time for lots of different uses. And what those uses can be, obviously we have a few things designed out that we haven't announced yet, but ideas are always extremely welcome from guilds of things they would think would be fun to bring into their own operations.
All right, and how can our community members or other players purchase big-time NFTs? Anything planned already or not yet?
Yeah. So in terms of purchasing NFTs now, before we get into early access early next year, well, the first thing to say is anyone can come into the game once it's open to the public, or if you have a VIP pass, and as you play, you have a chance to find NFTs as loot. Now, up until early access launches, we'll be having a couple more sales of the VIP early access pass. One coming very, very, very soon. And the other is we'll be having auctions of space for your time machines. And the idea with space is they are limited in number. We'll have 10% available for our first public sale of that. And we'll have other future sales of it too. But it's also earnable in-game. And there's a lot of it to earn too inside the game. So up until early access, I'd keep an eye out on our upcoming marketplace and our Discord for things that we'll be launching there.
All right, that's great to hear. So I think a lot of people will, or I hope a lot of people will want to get some NFTs before the release of the game. So I think we have time for a community round of questions. So I guess if community has some questions, let's hear them out. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a big one, yeah.
All right, awesome. So you can request to speak if you have a question to Big Time.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
So I just had a question. So I've been playing WoW for like 10 years and, ran a guild, and it was like a second job, right? So after a while, I just burnt out and I couldn't play that long. So I became a casual player. So I just wanted to know if, for the people like me who have grown up with games like WoW and, they're really excited for Big Time, if we're casual players now, is there a way for us to still be involved with the game, like whether it's through, you know, like investing in the game, or, you know, whether it's financial or with our time, like not the token, but like, you know, just with our time. Is there any other ways for casual gamers to really like participate in this community?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. That's one thing that Daniel touched on early on, but we're really like the way we're doing our token is meant to be utility based and fair. So, well, a couple of things I want to hit on first, I guess. One, we're very consciously avoiding a pay to win sort of situation where you know, lots of other games have come out and had situations like, I guess 𝗵𝗶𝘁 is a great example, where there was a for money auction house that launched with that game, which seemed like an interesting idea, but certainly in hindsight, it was a terrible idea. Because really what that ends up doing is circumventing or short-circuiting the core loop of the game. And what I mean by that is, you know, I'm playing the game. I haven't put any money into it. I'm just enjoying the experience. I'm, you know, going through the dungeons and leveling up my character and getting better loot, and I'm pretty happy with myself. And, you know, I've progressed through some levels and I've gotten better gear, and hey, this is a fun game. And then I jump back up into town and I see this level 1 player who has played for 10 minutes that has better gear than I will ever have because he dropped some money in the real money auction house. And what that teaches me as a player that doesn't want to use the real money auction house is that the only really way to play that game, or the correct way to play that game, is to spend real money, which actually isn't the fun part about that game. The fun part about that game is going into the dungeons and you know, fighting your way through the hordes of zombies and whatnot. And so you're kind of incentivizing people to not play, which is a very dangerous thing to do. And also on the other side, where the player that dropped a few dollars to get that gear isn't having a great time either. They spent some money and they have better gear than everybody else, and that's, you know, entertaining for a few minutes, but really the long game, the long-term entertainment value of a game is going through that core loop and experiencing your character's progression and making choices about what gear you want to use and what skill points you want to spend and all that kind of stuff. And having that sort of pay-to-win injection point breaks all that. So we're avoiding that. We're very careful to never have a situation where you can kind of win at the game by just dropping a bunch of money. So that being said, there's no way to play this game without actually playing the game. You can't just drop a bunch of money and expect to have the best gear. You can certainly speculate and invest in the game's economy, but a lot of the NFTs that drop, you have to earn them. You have to go into the dungeon and kill that creature in order to pick it up. It's not something you can buy necessarily, and we're really kind of biasing in that direction. So a lot of the NFTs that you need to get in the game, you have to do by playing. And so in that sense, even if you're a casual gamer, even if you don't have a lot of money to spend, you can definitely get in and be a viable player, you know, just by kind of using your time and your experience playing the game to get those NFTs to level up your character, which then gives you a better opportunity to get more NFTs and so on. And it's definitely, I'd say we're kind of leaning more on the more casual gamer side of things, actually, than like a lot of the game experience will be more casual than something you'd see in like raids in World of Warcraft or something like that. We're trying to steer away from those really big time commitment type scenarios. They're super fun for a small set of people, but certainly not everybody can, you know, dedicate the weekend to going and doing a 40-man raid or whatever it is. So we're focused first on the more casual experience.
Okay, cool. Like this kind of, so obviously like you don't want, you know, pay to win type of scenario that'll just kill any game. But so this kind of reminds me, so what I'm actually thinking about is there's another game that I was looking at called 𝗨𝗏𝘁𝗁, and they have like, you know, their main token. They have two different tokens, and their like primary token, the PYR token, is like used for like upgrading your land, and you can like you know, there's different things you can do with it. But then the token that you use in the game to like you know, buy armor or whatever, So there's the PYR token you can use to stake when you're not playing, and then you can earn the other token so that you don't get left behind by people that are willing to commit like hundreds of hours just to grinding, to like just grinding not NFTs but just like getting the primary like currency of the game. Is there anything that you guys planning to like allow staking or anything like that within Big Time?
Short answer is no. Main reason being is we did do some heavy researching on a lot of other blockchain games, as well as just crypto space and exchanges and different services you can do. And what we saw really is that our advantage as a game company is creating really good player experiences as they engage in the game, not in competing with, who can offer the largest return if you stake your tokens or anything like that. So it's very much for us, like Doug said, for people that are very hardcore, and I've had many friends who are extreme hardcore Diablo players that can spend hours essentially going from instance to instance grinding. That experience is there, especially as a party. And for players like myself as too, maybe I'll have like an hour a day max to properly game. I can jump into a 20-minute instance, and I can have some fun, possibly earn an NFT, right? Everything's probability. But at least I'll go away from that having a good player experience. For us, the token that exists in Big Time is very much geared towards this use of it. Right, so we have some really cool utility regarding the token, but it all has to do with engagement. So for example, we're working on this concept where there's like this challenge portal and you drop some tokens into it and it'll spawn either a really difficult boss or a group of elite enemies. If you can beat them, you have a chance to earn a unique NFT that's only found in this specific type of experience. At the same time, we have an NFT called a Forge that can be installed on your space in your time machine. And you can use this Forge to upgrade your existing NFTs. We have another use of the token where there's an NPC vendor and he'll have like a rotating list of NFTs that he sells, but he only accepts tokens as payment, for example, right? So there's all these interesting mechanics that we want to slowly start introducing into the game that allow the token to be properly used in it and in the way the player wants to. But in terms of a token that is purely for more like a return or speculative purpose, for this game, we're not going to be focusing on that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, you guys. Just one last thing I want to touch upon, and you guys can, I'll let other people get some questions in. I'm really excited for Big Time, and I can't wait to see what the kind of mechanics you guys bring. I hope, and I'm really hoping that you guys bring some of the best parts of Ultima Online in there, because I used to play that for 10 years too, and it was like by far my all-time favorite game. So really looking forward to Big Time. Thanks again.
Thank you for the conversation. Okay, I'll let someone else. I'll just randomly pick because I think we have time for one more. So.
Hello.
Hey.
All right, cool. You can hear me?
Yes, totally.
All right, I just want to make sure I had no feedback or anything also.
Okay, you're the last one, so make it good, okay?
All right, so I have a couple questions. I was wondering if the passes are going to be the same as the OpenSea passes prices, and then also about like the controlling of bots. Like I'm a big PoE Diablo 2 guy, and I know those are just people just bot the hell out of those, and then build a third-party website. Like, what are you guys going to do to combat that?
Well, so how about I address the body question, and I'll let Daniel address the passes question, if that's okay. As far as bots go, that's always a challenge, right? And that's definitely something that's on our radar. There's no magic bullet that keeps people from being able to bot, but that's definitely. I will say that it's a little bit harder in this game just because of the way the mechanics are set up. It's definitely not impossible, but in an isometric game, it's a little bit easier for the bots to navigate and figure stuff out. But that's definitely going to be an ongoing challenge for us. You know, we're using Unreal Engine 4, which comes with some sort of anti-cheat technology that we're going to utilize. In addition to that, though, there's an interesting component here that's certainly anything that's related to the blockchain or NFTs. We have a little bit more control or a little bit more information when it comes time to for people to be earning those NFTs and taking them out of the ecosystem. You know, some of the regulatory requirements for taking NFTs out and letting people withdraw them from the system require us already to have systems in place for KYC or know your customer. These are anti-money laundering measures, but we can kind of piggyback off those extra protections to make sure that, you know, the same user is not running with 1,000 accounts at once. You know, the only one identity per user kind of situation. So we'll utilize some of that extra information we have in this process as well. But I think it's really going to be, it's kind of a cat and mouse game that will be ongoing, where you'll see somebody will find the loophole and get a bot to work, and then we'll find them and ban their account. And again, the nice thing there is, since we do have the capability to do deeper identification checks, because we're already required to by law, when we ban somebody, it's a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more, it'll stick a little bit better than it would in a typical free-to-play game, perhaps. So anyway, I guess the summary is there's no magic bullet, but it's definitely a fight we're going to fight. And I'll let Daniel talk about the passes.
Yeah, short answer is yeah. It'll be the same as OpenSea. Main reason being is we're seeing these resell in secondary markets at many times what we charge. And the truth is we don't want to, the whole idea of the decentralized gaming or like a blockchain game and this DeFi world is precisely the sharing of these goods and their utility with the community. So we won't be changing those versus the OpenSea price. I did want to quickly change track because I know we just ran out of time, because I like following our Discord while we're on these. And there's a guy called 𝗹𝗲𝗿𝘀𝘁𝗿. He keeps asking all these really great questions. And I'll only be able to answer one of them because we're out of time. But he did ask about like character customization and leveling up and how does that look like. What I can say is, even though we've only announced 4 classes, the way you customize and level up your class provides many different paths that you can take. So you can have exactly the same, like 2-time warriors, and they can have completely different play styles and different abilities. And obviously the equipment plus some other things impact that. So I just want to put that out there because he was going crazy on Discord asking questions.
Yeah, too, just to piggyback off that, we've announced 4 classes, but definitely keep an eye out because we'll be adding more classes as time goes. That's one of the avenues that we want to push on to keep the game fresh and give people interesting things to do. And we have a system where you can kind of freely pick between classes. It's not like you have to start a whole new character. So every time we add a class, it's really adding another axis of replayability to things. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
All right. Thanks so much for the question. And I guess this is it. So Big Time team, do you have anything to say to our community before we end these spaces?
No, just that we're excited to get the game in everybody's hands and really see how things go. You know, see what the feedback is and take the game to a really interesting place. It's a lot of it's very, very new and experimental that hasn't been done in games before, and that's just super exciting to us. So hopefully it is to you guys as well.
Yeah, on my side, I'm really excited just to get this game out there. And I know a lot of people are anxious to finally get to play it. It's fun. It's fun, and we've only just begun our polishing process with some of the mechanics, and it's already a fun game to play. So we're excited to be able to share with the community.
All right, then. Thanks, everyone, and see you some other time.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Hey, guys.